Hi, everybody. It is time for Q&A Wednesday. It is the night that I answer the questions that you have sometimes it's just something that's a common question recently. And actually, this was a really, really good one. I get a lot of clients that come in and they say, well, I've been following this meal plan. And my thought is, okay, well, where'd you get the meal plan? Now, a meal plan here and there is okay. When I work with clients, I do like to talk a little bit about giving them some samples of ways to eat in a really clean, healthy way. But as personal trainers, really giving meal plans is technically out of our scope of certification. So when I do give meal plans, like I said, it's a sample meal plan. It's something for them to kind of look at and go, oh, that's kind of how I should be eating. But I want you to learn how to change things out and how to eat in a healthy way and how to eat clean, healthy foods. Now, that's not to say that you should never eat the things that you love, but, just trying to eat on consistently where it actually will benefit your body by eating healthy nutrients, the minerals, and just the nutrition that your body needs in order to function correctly is really, really important. So having some of a guideline is great. However, a lot of people think, well, hey, I really like how that internet celebrity looks, or I love how that IFBB Pro bikini girl looks. So why shouldn't I just follow her meal plan because I want to look like her? So we're going to talk about that right now because, just even off the top of my head, my thought process is, okay, wait a minute. It doesn't work for everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I think my biggest frustration with watching a lot of the things that I see within the fitness world and within, the fit celebrities, whatever the heck you want to call them, just the internet personalities, is that not everybody's actually an expert in the field. They might be telling you what works for them. And honestly, a lot of times they're telling you what their coach is having them do. And it's not tailored to you. So, keep in mind that unless you're listening, even when I listen to YouTube videos or Instagram, if they are not like experts in their field, if they're not like PhDs in exercise science, or there's information that I've been watching for a long time, they obviously know their stuff. I just don't give them enough. I just don't, I can't take information as gold because I know, well, honestly, I've done a lot of research on nutrition. I've taken multiple classes. I am certified. Now that, of course, does not make me a registered dietitian, but it does make me very educated. So at least I can do some good nutrition coaching. And when, of course, if I don't know, then I tell people, maybe you need to go talk to your primary care provider, or a registered dietitian. But, in this day and age, not even some of that education that the registered dietitians get could be a little more progressive, but no offense, that I have complete respect for the amount of education they've been through. And I don't know everything, but I do know a good portion of it. And the one thing that I can tell you is what works for one person is not going to work for everyone. That is why there is not one specific diet that is the golden diet, right? If it works for that person, that's great, but there are some variables you have to think about when it comes to whether or not that will actually work for you. So the first one that we're going to talk about is that, everybody's a different body type. That's a big one. I actually had a client not too entirely long ago that was following a meal plan that a girl at his gym had given him that she was using for a prep. And I'm like, now, first of all, you've got at least 50 pounds on her. And number two, you're trying to grow, not necessarily trying to get on stage. And that diet plan or meal plan is for somebody who's working to be 125 pounds. So again, that's absolutely asinine that something that would work for a girl is going to work for a guy with completely different goals. So things that are going to make a difference, how much you currently weigh, what your body composition is at the moment. Somebody who is 35% body fat and really trying hard is going to have a completely different meal plan and focus and amount of macros than somebody who is 12% and just about ready to get on stage. So you can't equate that. It just doesn't work. Number two, you might not even be, there are different body types. Some people are what we would call hard gainers or just really high metabolism. We call them ectomorphs, but their metabolism runs on high. They need a completely different style of meal plan than someone who is, really has a hard time losing weight, tends to just hold on to body fat or really gain it easily, might be a little more resistant to carbs or have a struggle. Like I know that if I eat carbs, pretty quickly my body starts to retain fat. So again, what works for somebody who runs marathons all the time is not going to be appropriate for someone who is just really struggling even to lose 5 pounds. So again, you can't get online and go, well, I want to look like her, so I need to eat like her. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Plus, your genetics are different. Your culture background is going to be a little bit different. There's a lot more that's going to play into that besides physiology. There is a lot of mental and emotional things that we have to look at in order to reach your health goals. And those are actually more important than the physiology itself, because of course, we all know, those of us that have ever yo-yo dieted, we know that we cannot remain at a incredibly low amount of calories and a huge deficit and a what I would call a sacrifice for too long before we start to go crazy and we crave, right? We crave food, we crave comfort food, and so all of a sudden we can no longer maintain that option. So again, somebody who is dieting down for a competition is going to be in a completely different state of nutrients than someone who just, needs to get healthier and drop some body fat percentage. So that really makes a big difference. Age also plays a huge role in there. Somebody who's 22 is obviously going to have a little bit easier time than somebody who's in their 40s, because our bodies change as we get older. We turn from, instead of trying to grow, our bodies are just trying to maintain, and our metabolism shrinks a little bit. So again, it's just silly. That's why there is no cookie cutter diet. That's why most coaches, good coaches, should not be using a cookie cutter diet, because it just doesn't work. Everybody's so different. Plus, as we get older, our hormones change. If you've yo-yo dieted for years, your metabolism and the hormones that your body produces is going to be a little different than somebody who grew up as an athlete and actually learned to eat healthy as an athlete. So there's no one right way. You have to actually know how your body responds to the different macronutrients and eat accordingly. And if you don't know what that is, you need to either educate yourself or contact a professional who knows a little bit more about that. Okay, so the other thing is, we all have a what I call a body thermostat. There's a certain weight per se that your body likes to sit at. That might be something that you tend to plateau at quite a bit. It's a happy weight. It's a happy place for your body. In that kind of a situation, a lot of times people will struggle. Those that are trying to gain weight will really struggle to go above a certain weight. And women, or anyone who's trying to lose weight, and I still hate that term, is going to struggle to get below that for multiple reasons. Now, there are ways around that, but you've got to work with that, not try to work against it. And dropping to 1,200 or 900 calories is absolutely 100% not the way, because all you do is trash your metabolism, and then you go back to your old habits of eating some semi-unhealthy food and can't figure out why you're gaining it all back. So that makes a big difference. Number two, we all eat differently depending on how we grew up, the culture that we're from. We're going to eat a little different type of lifestyle, a little different habits, a little bit different in the way of the foods. I grew up on hamburger helper. Now, I will not eat that because it's disgusting. Not to mention it is just boxed nasty. So the way that I grew up different is going to be completely different than someone who grew up where their family makes homemade tortillas every week. So again, you can't, it's very, very difficult to completely change your entire lifestyle all at once, commit and stay with that long term, especially if it's food you don't enjoy. So that makes it a little bit more of a difficult situation when you're just trying to copy what somebody else is doing that, again, might work for them, but probably will not work for you. Plus, depending on where they're coming from, their goals might be different. Their body's ability to deal with carbs or with different substances might just be different than yours. I know from my family history that we are a little bit carb intolerant, and that if I eat too much sugar, my body actually goes into a state where that's all I crave. When I start sugar, I can't stop. So Jenny says she's never going to give up tacos. I don't think you should give up tacos. Again, I don't think that you should give up everything that you love. I think that there needs to be some restraint, especially if you have a goal where, a particular food, or like in my house, we don't do a lot of gluten. I know it's a highly inflammatory nutrient and that really doesn't help any of us with our goals. I'm not saying that never ever eat bread, or pizza crust or whatever, but I don't eat it on a regular basis. And because I eat so clean, when I do eat something along those lines, my body actually responds in a way that goes, I don't like you right now. So it does make a difference. If you learn to listen to what your body has to say, it will tell you what you need to know. I think the problem is, after decades of just eating very unhealthy food, I got so used to it that I didn't realize how miserable my body really was until I stopped eating it. And now looking back, I recognize, the bloating, the retaining water. I mean, there's just a lot that goes along with it that tells you your body doesn't like this food, right? Just the American diet is so highly processed and so unhealthy that we are even struggling to know what healthy really is. And that's an education that unfortunately we have to teach ourselves because it's not taught in schools. So let's talk about the different energy output. Somebody who is an internet fitness model, whatever, probably puts in a lot of time at the gym. And so she probably needs a little bit more in the way of certain foods like carbs and things like that. So if you're fairly sedentary, that actually might be too much in the way of energy intake food-wise for you because you're not doing those. Now, again, you can technically, I think it's important to do a little bit of both. I think nutrition plays a huge role. I also think exercise plays a huge role. You will have to figure out what your balance is for that. But again, if you were exercising more, you probably need more nutrient intake. So again, if you don't know what they're doing for exercise, that really gives you a disservice because again, it might not be meeting your needs depending on what those are and what you want to accomplish. It's really interesting too that because of years and years of unhealthy eating, I can't undo 3 decades of unhealthy eating in 3 weeks. So, this whole 30-day challenge or 60-day challenge, you're not going to look ripped when I've been eating pizza for 30 years. It's going to take my body some time to, first of all, get all of that garbage out of my fat cells. That's just on top of getting used to eating like that. Now, I find it really interesting that the cleaner that I've eaten over time, now again, for those of you that don't know me, you have to understand that for most of my adult life, I was obese, 210 pounds, approximately 45% body fat. Yes, I have pictures to prove it. If you would have told me back then I would love vegetables, the cleaner I eat, the more I want to eat clean. I appreciate the flavor of vegetables and of healthy fats and the things that I currently eat. Again, I'm not saying that I don't once in a while have a free meal or a cheat meal and eat something like, I love sushi, guys. I just do. But that's not something I eat on a daily basis. I actually look forward to eating like that once in a while. I kind of make myself earn it. But even then, I'm not going crazy. I'm not, I'm reasonable. I'm reasonable with how I eat and what I do. So that makes a big difference. Now, let me just stop really quickly. I do want to remind you, because for some odd reason, I get the most interesting comebacks from people. Not everything that you see or read on the internet is true. I don't know why I have to keep reminding me people, because I find it fascinating. Granted, it is a great place to learn. I'm amazed that, I want to learn something, I Google it and all of a sudden it pops up. The problem is there's so much information. Sometimes there's just too much information and not all of it actually has any factual background. So make sure that when you are listening to people, again, even the trainers and the coaches and things that I listen to and watch their YouTube videos, I make sure that they actually have a really decent background, that I know that they actually know their stuff, because there's too much bro science. There's too much information that is not based on anything factual, which, a little bit of crazy. So number 4, whatever that person's doing that you might be wanting to follow their meal plan, you might not be able to handle the trade-offs that they make, because when you do want to lose weight, have a health goal, get leaner, whatever it is, there are trade-offs you will have to make. And there will come a time when you have to find that balance, right? People say, well, I want to look like you. Okay, well, that's great. Then you're going to have to do what I do. Or they might say, well, I want to get super lean and I don't want to get on stage, but I want to look like I'm on stage. And I'm going, okay, so you're going to have to give up the beer. Well, I can't do that. Okay, well, that's the trade-off you're going to have to decide. Anybody who is competing on stage, doing any sort of physique modeling, fitness modeling, they're Instagram famous, whatever the heck, they have to make some trade-offs. And, the younger they are, they might not have to make the trade-offs that I'm going to have to make, because again, my body doesn't work the same as theirs. At 22, they probably can get away with having a drink or two every week. and still be able to get on stage in 6 weeks. Not going to happen for a good portion of us. So Sandy wants to know, who are a couple of your favorite YouTubers? So I do follow a couple of trainers on YouTube. The big one that I really like, because he knows his stuff, he has a PhD, and I believe he has a PhD in exercise science. But what I love about him is he will actually, now this is when I'm like looking for new exercises. He does have some information when it comes to nutrition, but I do have a good one for nutrition. Anyway, he goes by Athlean X. It's Jeff Cavalier, something like that. Super interesting guy, and he will actually draw on his muscle with whiteboard markers. So when he's showing you the movement, you can actually see the striations of his muscles move, so you can see what engagement of those muscles are going to happen when you do that exercise. Super, super love him. There's a few coaches and things that I follow a little bit because, again, they have a really intense background. And obviously I watch competitive coaches as well, because that is something that I already do, and I'm always looking to learn. You can never know everything, right? I admit when I don't know something. As for nutrition, a really, really good one, because I've been reading all of his stuff, and he is a doctor. Now, he's a doctor based in nutrition. You can't just listen to any doctor. I love doctors, but they don't always have a lot of education in nutrition. But Dr. Jason Fung has some really good books. One is called The Obesity Code, and another one that follows right alongside that is called The Diabetes Code. And he really talks about how, of course, processed food and sugar, refined sugar, really has caused the epidemic in obesity. So he's also a fan of intermittent fasting, which he's kind of turned my view of how I feel about that. Again, I don't feel it's for everybody, but there's some really good information out there. I think that if you're willing to try something, you really got to know what is involved. And don't forget that whatever you do to get to your goal, you have to keep doing to stay at your goal. I find it fascinating that people are like, well, I'm just going to do this for 3 months. I'm like, and then what? You're going to go back to doing the crap you were doing before? Because that means you're going to look like you did before. Sometimes even worse, because of course now you've destroyed your metabolism meanwhile, and your body can't handle going back to your old habits. So again, it's really important that you know whatever you do, it has to be sustainable for the rest of your life. So if you don't want to not eat carbs for the rest of your life, you probably shouldn't do a keto diet, right? To me, that makes complete sense, but I find it fascinating how many people are just jumping on board temporarily to see if it works for them. Not always a bad option, but you really got to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and it has to make complete sense for you. So we talked about that you have to be willing to make trade-offs. Like I said, those internet sensations might be making some major trade-offs in order to stay where they are. If you are struggling to change habits, you may not be able to stick with what it is that they're doing. I really find it fascinating how many people have really quite a ways to go. They don't have the level 1 basic skills in order to make good choices consistently when it comes to nutrition and exercise, and yet they come to me wanting to do a physique competition. I'm going, whoa. Not even an option. Most people just need to figure out what works for them. They need to find that balance. Competing is a whole another level of difficult. It's a whole nother animal. And technically, if you look at it, it's not exactly super healthy. You're just temporarily doing some things to see if you can push your body in ways you haven't done that before. And if you don't have the basics down, there is absolutely zero benefit to even trying to get yourself into that. So keep that in mind. So the other thing, the reason why it's not a great idea, and this isn't just somebody else's diet that you're following. I think any diet, you jump on there and it sounds really great, right? Because, wow, that person lost 30 pounds in 30 days, which, by the way, is not a good idea. Anyway, topic for another day, but it's any diet that just makes no sense. It's any type of nutrition plan, prescribed eating that you can't stick with. Success when it comes to health and nutrition isn't how quickly you can get there. It's how long can you stay there once you reach your goal. And if it's too difficult, if you're going to have to sacrifice too much, if it's too low calorie, there's no way that is a great option for you, because it's going to be temporary and it's going to have side effects that aren't really great for you. Again, seeing these people, posting their stuff, it doesn't always make them an expert. Kind of just like people getting off stage for the first time and decide they're coaches. Good Lord. Yeah, zero background in nutrition and exercise, but yet all of a sudden they're coaches. It happens. Just because they're on there doesn't make them experts. They might look cute. They might be able to maintain a certain amount of leanness, but make sure that you know that they know what they're talking about. that could be pretty dangerous to be following what somebody else does when, again, you don't know that that person has any sort of education or background in that. They may not be eating enough calories even for their specific body type or their goals. They might be eating. It drives me crazy when people are like, well, just eat these protein popcorn or this protein cookie. I'm like, just because it says protein does not make it healthy. There are no shortcuts. There's balance. Something that doesn't work for you now is okay. Maybe you need to dial it back a little bit. Maybe you don't like vegetables, so maybe you need to use powdered greens for a little while until you've adapted your taste buds to the point where you can start putting some vegetables in there and be okay with it. You can't go from never eating vegetables to becoming a vegan. Wow, yeah, that'd be an interesting one, right? So you have to take basic steps to get where you want to go with that. And really, when you do reduce your calories or your food intake so low, your body will fight you on it. It's not just about willpower. Willpower is when it comes to food, that has nothing to do with it, because unfortunately we look at getting lean as black and white, right? Like, we can avoid that cookie for 20 days in a row, and on 21 day, the 21st day, we eat that cookie and all of a sudden we're complete failures. That makes ridiculous sense, right? You got to be excited that progress is progress. You just avoided a cookie for 20 days. Just because you ate it the 21st day doesn't mean you should give up. So be smart about what you do. Really, you want to, again, do it in a way that you can maintain it for the rest of your life. And that means if you're 250 pounds, 1,200 calories ain't gonna cut it, guys. It's just not. You have nowhere to go after that. So be smart about it. And if you really don't know how to do that, find somebody who knows their stuff. I don't even care if it's not me, but make sure they are very well educated and that they care about your health. That's very important as well. Part of the deal too is, you guys, you can't always control how your body responds. There's a lot of variables when it comes to when you're trying to lose weight. People struggle with it, and it's like, well, I keep lowering my calories. How come I'm not losing weight? Well, are you getting enough sleep? Are you stressed out all the time? There's a lot more that plays a role in where you're trying to go. And those internet people might not have ever dealt with that. You might be, a 45-year-old woman with 5 kids and a bunch of grandkids and single mom now. So you're supporting the whole household, and you're trying to follow a meal plan or a diet from a 22-year-old who's never had a kid in her whole life. So again, you can't compare. That's again, to me, that's ridiculousness. So, I'm just making sure I'm covering everything. I make lots and lots of notes because I get so excited about these topics, and I want to make sure I cover everything that we talk about. We talk about, one type of diet or meal plan is not going to work for everyone. And everything is doable short term. Everything's doable short term. That's not the way to go. You want to make sure that you have a way that works for you forever, right? Because, most of us start this with really great intentions, right? We're excited. Hey, I'm going to do great. You're really excited about your goals. We call that the honeymoon stage, right? It's all great for the first couple of weeks until you realize how hard it really truly is, and that your body's fighting you on it, and that your cravings, sugar cravings are there. And all of a sudden it becomes extremely difficult. So again, we have to do it in stages in order to do it in a healthy way. So Sandy says that she works with a vegan and he smoked like a chimney. Yeah, I just find that fascinating. Again, it's about balance, right? It's kind of like, I'm going to say it, a half-assed workout every day consistently is still better than killing a workout once every couple of weeks. I mean, what's the point? If you're only getting it to the gym every other week once, you're not going to see the same results that half-assed workout's going to get you, because you're getting there every day. So it's more about the consistency and making good choices over long term than it is about killing it for 3 weeks, right? Again, any of us can do that very short term, but I don't know. I want to go back to where I was. That's important to me. All right. So again, you look at the fitness industry and you look at what's happening on social media. Just because that's how it looks doesn't mean it's correct. It doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean that it works for everyone. If you're just starting out to try and work towards some health goals, you got to learn the basics first. You got to walk before you can run. That's part of the process. So here's some tips for you. Okay. All right. So we talked about that, it's not temporary. Now, granted, if you're going to Cancun in a month and you want to do a little bit, that's fine. But, I always tell people, if you're trying to make next level goals, you got to have the level 1 skills, right? That's super important. Whatever you do to get there, you have to keep doing to stay there. So, literally, if it's starving yourself on a regular basis, that's obviously not sustainable nor healthy, and it's going to show in not so great ways on your body. Next, it really is about doing a little bit better, and then doing a little bit better, and then doing a little bit better, because that is mentally and emotionally doable versus, on Monday I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna eat whatever I want right now, but on Monday I'm gonna kill it. And then Monday rolls around and you realize, okay, well, I wasn't perfect, right? And then you give up. No, just, take it one step at a time. With a lot of clients, especially if they really struggle, because, well, we all do to some degree, it might just be, okay, honey, we need to practice drinking more water. That's the one thing I want you to do. Is that doable? Do you believe that you can do that 10 out of 10 this week? Yes, great. Then that's what we need to work on, versus I'm only going to eat 1,200 calories. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. That's actually why most New Year's resolutions fail, because people have great thoughts of what they're going to do. They have great intentions. But when it actually comes to putting in the work and the time, that's too big of a change. It's too big of a change all at once. Talking about success is not how quickly you take it off. It's how long you keep it off. And I do think it's really important to focus on the efforts versus the results, because what your thoughts of what the results should be might not fit what your efforts are. But if you know what? I just need to, instead of going 1 day a week to the gym, I need to make it 2, or I need to make it 3. That's focusing on the efforts versus, okay, I've been going to the gym for 3 weeks. How come I haven't dropped 20 pounds? Well, again, you don't know what variables are going to prevent you from dropping 20 pounds. You might not have changed your nutrition whatsoever. So, especially if you're not an expert in the world of nutrition and exercise science, you might need to get back into reality and figure out what it really will take to do that, and see if that's something that you're willing to do. Stop looking for shortcuts, guys. Good Lord. It might work temporarily, but again, it's not going to be healthy. So there is no pill. There is no magic broth. There's no one thing you can drink from Pinterest that's going to burn belly fat. Wow. Just wow. There's nothing that's going to, years ago, I heard about the guy that lost all this weight by eating McDonald's all the time. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because if you eat at a deficit, it's possible to lose weight on that. But you show me his heart and his arteries in 10 years, then we'll have a conversation about how healthy that little gimmick is. You've got to build healthful habits, not based on restriction, right? It's not about how much can I go without. It's about what can I do that gives my body the nutrition that it needs, that helps my body work the best and makes it work efficiently. If you do it and you are miserable and have zero energy and dysfunctional, what's the benefit there? I would rather have a quality of life than to kill myself to try and get to a certain point in life. You also need to build a healthy, positive relationship with food. I think a lot of us really struggle with that. I mean, I know I do. I grew up eating comfort food because I was stressed out. And even now when I get stressed out, really what I want to do is stuff my face in a bag of caramel M&Ms because they're crack. That's not my best option. And fortunately, I've learned ways to work around that. But I stress eat, and then I eat because I'm bored, because I want to put something in my face. So if you don't have a healthy relationship with food, you might need to seek some professional help in order to build a healthy relationship with food. Because no matter how, even if you get to that goal, if you still have that unhealthy relationship with food, you are going to struggle for a very long time. Same thing with, I have multiple clients who have had lap band, gastric bypass surgeries. It is a very necessary situation in a lot of instances. The problem being is I see a lot of times where people are unprepared because they still think that they can go back to what they did before, right? Because this is a shortcut and it doesn't work. Even if you've had those surgeries, which by the way are very dangerous to begin with, you can still put all of that fat right back on by continuously eating unhealthy, highly processed food. So there is no shortcut. There is no magic pill. There is nothing that's going to get you there without, honestly, some hard work over time, right? It needs to be consistent work over time. That's important. And the scale, honestly, guys, does not promote a healthy outlook on your self-esteem, on your health, of where you're trying to go, of your body image. The scale doesn't give you enough information, guys. It just doesn't. Recently, I had 2 pictures that I keep showing clients, and I'm like, okay, these are a week apart. How much weight do you think that I lost in these 2 pictures? And one I was definitely a little bigger than the other. I was retaining some water. And they're like, 10 pounds? Zero. There is 0 pounds difference between these two pictures. So again, the scale does not give you enough information. Your clothes give you a better idea as to how things are going. How you feel should give you a better idea as to how things are going. Stop worrying about how you look. Respect your body, respect where you're at, and eat to be healthy, not to be skinny. Skinny is a 4-letter word in my book, so I just don't even, right? So hopefully that helps. Again, I know that people, they want you to buy into their meal plan or buy into their idea or follow them on social media. So try this, try that. It worked for me. That's fantastic. But again, first of all, I want to see proof. Proof is in the pudding, right? But again, it doesn't work for everybody. We're all so different. So, you're better off to learn more about how you work, about what works for you. Do you need to work with, do you have some underlying genetic things that you need to work with, like type 2 diabetes that runs in the family, and that might be a problem. There's just too much information there to keep it that simple when it comes to like one diet, one meal plan that works for everybody. So hopefully that helps give you a good idea. I just really felt like it was a topic I need to approach because I get so many clients coming in going, well, I follow so-and-so's diet. All right. How's that working for you is usually my comment. But I think it's really important to know we're trying to be healthy here. We just have to be a little more educated as to how we go about it. So, I get my very best ideas from you guys. If you have a question, a comment, either leave a message below or you can message me directly through Facebook Messenger. I do answer. You can ask people. I do answer. Also, super exciting things coming up for Fillmore Fitness. Just posted a link. We've got a pre-sale of some new, we've got a new logo. We've got some new t-shirts and tank tops and things that we've got coming out. People are excited, some lanyards and whatnot. So if you want to support the Fillmore Fitness name, it's kind of cool. I'm excited. Yeah, so those things are coming out, and then I have some other fun stuff coming up you'll see really soon. So have an incredible week, you guys. Hopefully your weather is as good as ours is getting. I'm so happy. Just needed the sun to come out, so I'm a pretty happy girl right now. But that is Q&A Wednesday, and until next week, have an incredible week, you guys, and stay healthy. See you.